Processing has a bunch of built-in variables you don't have to declare or initialize. And this is a video about mouseX and mouseY, two variables that hold the value of the cursor's location on the coordinate plane. So mouseX has the current x value of the mouse on the coordinate plane, and mouseY has the current y value of the mouse on the coordinate plane. So as you move the mouse, those values change. You don't have to define them, you don't have to change them yourself. They change automatically based on the cursor on the coordinate plane. So let's look at an example. There are a bunch of different ways you can use this, but let's start out by using mouseX as a variable in the inside the fill parameter. So if you use a variable that's been defined in processing already, a built-in variable, it turns pink. So I'm going to say mouseX is the red value. We'll say 0 for the green value, and then I'll say 255, maximum amount of blue. So mouseX is used in the red parameter. And then I'll just make a big ellipse right in the center of the screen. So when I play this program, we start out with a default 0 for mouseX. I'm not on the screen at all. 0 for green, maximum amount of blue. I've got a blue ellipse. But as I slowly start to move horizontally across the screen, you can see the amount of redness increases until I get this fuchsia ellipse. And as I move back to the left, the value of mouseX decreases. So that's one way you could use it. Another way you could use it is you could use it as actually a parameter in the location of the ellipse. So I'm going to actually just make this a little bit smaller. So I just have mouseX is now subbed in for the x value of the ellipse. When I play this, if I move my ellipse across the screen, it's going to follow my mouse horizontally. It doesn't care where my cursor is vertically because I haven't yet used that mouseY variable. Before we use mouseY, I'm actually going to swap these around and put 250 for the x value and mouseX for the y value. Now, take a moment to think about what this is going to look like. The x value is going to stay the same, so it's going to have the same horizontal location. But now, where my mouse is along the x-axis is going to affect the y value, the y location of the ellipse. So, as I move horizontally across the screen, the shape is going to move vertically along the y-axis. I know it's distressing. There we go. And then, of course, if we take that one step farther, I'm going to put mouseX back in the x location of the parameters and mouseY in the y location. And thus we have the ellipse that follows the mouse. If we want to see all the ellipses that are drawn, rather than have the background redrawn each time, draw loops through. So instead of that flipbook style animation that lets us see just the current ellipse with a background redrawn each time, 60 times a second, I could take that background out of void draw, Command X to cut, Command V to paste, and now I can see all of the ellipses redrawn each time. One other thing to note, if right now, I'm going to put a no stroke in to better illustrate this, I hope. The max value of any of the RGB parameters in fill or in stroke or in background, the max value is 255. If my screen is 500 pixels wide and 500 pixels high, I'm going to reach that max value for a color about halfway across the screen, just a teensy bit more than halfway across the screen. If I want to sort of have a gradient of color that goes across the entire screen, I want to change the range of mouseX. Right now, so I know it will always go from 0 to the width of the screen, But instead of using the whole value of mouseX in my fill, what I could possibly do is say I want the fill, that red value, to be mouseX divided by 2. So instead of having a range from 0 to 500, now all of a sudden this parameter has a range of 0 to 250, pretty close to 255. That means that now, as I go across the gradient, it's a little more subtle, but it's not going to reach sort of max fuchsia-ness or magenta-ness until it's all the way on the other side of the screen. I could do the same thing for mouseY. If I use mouseY as the blue parameter, right now over here it's going to be black, really low values of red, green, and blue. The pink is now divided, or the redness is divided by 2, but I still get sort of maxed out on the blueness down in this corner before just about halfway down the screen. Could do the same thing here. Divide by 2, that's the forward slash, is the division symbol. And now I really only get that true blue color way down in the corner, and it's more of a gradient from black to blue here, from black to red here, and then as I go along the diagonal, I go from black into that fuchsia color.